Today I'm going to be removing the power steering gearbox and replacing it with a different one. Um, Here I'm removing the slave cylinder. It's in the way of getting to the nut, trying to get to the pitman arm because I want to take it off instead of removing it with the gearbox. All I needed was some vice grips to hold the cylinder still and 9/16 wrench. Here I use the size 34 socket to take out that nut. I don't recommend using anything else but a pitman arm remover. I tried with a crowbar, other stuff, yeah, it wasn't happening. The pitman arm puller is a pretty simple thing to use. You just put the hooks behind the pitman arm. Use that black screw to tighten it on the center of the stud coming out of the gearbox, and using the socket wrench, this one was half size, you just tighten it until it pops off the arm. Here I'm just loosening up the bolts to the gearbox. I just wanted a little bit of room so I can fit a bungee cord around the gearbox and tie it up, so once I took it off, since I'll be on this side, it doesn't fall off. I know it probably wouldn't, but I was just being safe. Once I secured the gearbox with bungee cords just to make sure it wouldn't fall, I came back to this side and loosened up all the bolts and got ready to take down the gearbox. Then I climbed down back into the car and took down the gearbox. Here's a look at the old gearbox. It has an SMBK tag on it, and here's a new one, a Flaming River gearbox. I was able to get this at a very good deal from a guy who decided to go rack and pinion. So before installing the gearbox, you got to figure out where your center is from lock to lock, so you turn it to see how many revolutions you get from your starting point. That there was 2, 3, and this does just short of 4. So if this was a clock, it would be around 10 o'clock there where it stopped. So the halfway point would be 1 full revolution and just short of a second, which would be around 11 o'clock again if it was a clock. So when I do that here, that should be about the halfway point. You can also mark it. You can look up other videos and it shows you just mark, put a marker, mark it down where it's lock to lock. I just did it in my head here, so just to show you, I'm gonna do a full revolution and then it's gonna stop just short of 2. So right here, so I just got to take it back to the center, and that's where I'm gonna release it and get it ready to install. Since I was working alone, the easiest way I found to do this was to take the bolts, not put them all the way through, just to the beginning of the bolt, before they pop out of the bolt hole. I lined up the power steering gearbox and then lined up the holes and then just tightened them up by hand just so I could hold it up. From what I read of the torque specs on here on these bolts is 50 to 65 foot-pounds. So I put it at 60 foot-pounds after this video. After I shot this, I went back and tightened it up to 60 foot-pounds. And now you can see where it's installed. Here it is. Installing the pitman arm was a pain. I mean, I don't know how long I was trying to figure it out, but if you look at the nut, the shaft coming out from the gearbox, I marked it in 4 parts, and that's because the splines on both the pitman arm and the gear and the gearbox, they have flat spots on those 4 sides. For me, it's those 4 sides. So here, I'm going to show you on the old gearbox. It has a flat spot down the center of the splines on the 4 sides, not down the center. So you just got to line them up with a pitman arm right here. So that's basically what I did, and after that it was really easy, and I just tightened up the nut. So before I install the steering column and finish up down here, I want to replace these bushings. This is for the slave cylinder, the power steering cylinder. If you can see right here, it's pretty beat up. I mean, they're gone, so I want to replace it. Before I put it back, before I tighten it up, as well as the what I got, the sway bar bushings right here. They're all eaten up. That, I mean, that's very old. I mean, probably from before when I got the car in '99. So I'm gonna be replacing that, and I already ordered the parts. They should be here in a few days. So once I get that, once I get those parts, I'm gonna get started on that. Another thing I want to do before I put the column back is repair the turn signal switch. This here, and on the opposite side, when you put a turn signal, it clicks and locks in place, but it doesn't here. So I gotta replace this. Cam cancellation, that's what it's called. I'm also adding the seal, the one that goes between the steering column and the firewall. The one I had here was all torn up, so I'm just gonna put a new one. So that's on the way as well. I'm just waiting a few days for the parts to get here. So once the steering column and steering wheel are ready to go back in, I'm going to put one of these two, either the Grant steering wheel or the stock wood grain steering wheel. I'm going with the first. I also don't have a button for the Grant, but horn button, but I like this one better anyway. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoy working on my car again. There's a lot to come, a lot to be done. I'm still got a million things to do before it's ready to drive again. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time.